You can be held and still feel untouched. You can receive "I love you" every day and still feel unseen. You can lie next to someone at night and feel like you are drifting alone in an emotional ocean no one else knows exists. This is the silent paradox of loneliness inside a relationship. And if this is your reality, the most confusing part is not the emptiness itself, it's the guilt that comes with it. You tell yourself they are trying. You remind yourself that you should feel grateful. You question whether you are too sensitive, too demanding, too complicated. But loneliness in a relationship is rarely about ingratitude. It is about emotional invisibility. It is about the quiet ache of not feeling fully met, fully understood, fully recognized without having to edit yourself first. People who feel lonely in relationships often carry a wound that began long before their current partner. This pattern usually traces back to childhood emotional dynamics that were subtle, not dramatic. Maybe your physical needs were provided for, but your emotional world felt inconvenient. Maybe you were praised for being mature, independent, undemanding. Maybe you learned very early that expressing sadness made others uncomfortable, that anger created distance, that vulnerability led to dismissal. So you adapted. You became perceptive. You became low maintenance. You learned to regulate yourself so no one had to regulate you. On the surface, this looked like strength. Beneath the surface, it was survival. Psychologically, this creates insecure attachment patterns rooted in hypervigilance and emotional self-containment. You learned that connection required performance and that your deeper needs were negotiable. As an adult, this blueprint does not disappear. It simply becomes more sophisticated. You become the emotionally intelligent partner, the one who listens carefully, the one who senses shifts in tone, the one who apologizes first to keep the peace. You anticipate disappointment before it arrives. You manage conflict before it escalates. You carry the emotional temperature of the relationship in your body. But here is the painful irony. The more you overfunction emotionally, the more alone you begin to feel. Because while you are deeply attuned to them, you are not allowing yourself to be fully revealed. Instead of saying, "I feel unseen," you say, "I'm just tired." Instead of saying, "I need reassurance," you say, "It's fine." You translate your truth into something smaller, softer, easier to accept, and then you wonder why no one understands the depth of what you carry. This is emotional self-abandonment. It is the unconscious habit of minimizing your own needs to preserve connection, and over time it creates a profound internal split. On one side, you are physically present in the relationship. On the other side, your most vulnerable self remains hidden behind a protective wall. Loneliness grows in that gap, not because your partner is necessarily cruel or neglectful, but because the most fragile parts of you are still operating in survival mode. Your nervous system does not fully trust intimacy. Even in moments of closeness, after deep conversation, after affection, after physical intimacy, there can be a subtle emotional drop, a hollow sensation, a question that whispers, "Will this last?" When early attachment experiences were inconsistent, love becomes both desired and feared. You crave closeness, but your body braces for its withdrawal. That bracing creates distance, even when someone is right beside you. Hypervigilance becomes your constant companion. You analyze text messages, you notice shifts in energy, you replay conversations searching for signs of rejection. This is not overreacting, it is conditioning. Your system learned that love could disappear without warning, so now you scan for threat in moments that should feel safe. And the exhausting part is that your partner may not even know this internal storm is happening. From the outside, you appear stable and composed. From the inside, you are negotiating fear and longing at the same time. That duality is isolating. It makes you feel alone even in shared space. Over time, this loneliness can evolve into quiet resentment, not explosive anger, but a heavy fatigue. You begin to feel like you are carrying more of the emotional labor. You feel like you are the one initiating difficult conversations, maintaining closeness, ensuring stability. You want to be pursued emotionally, not just physically. You want someone to notice the micro changes in your voice. You want to be asked about the things you do not volunteer. What you are truly longing for is attunement, the experience of being deeply understood without excessive explanation. But because you are so used to being the strong one, asking for this feels unnatural. It feels needy. It feels dangerous. So you remain silent, and silence deepens the isolation. This creates a self-sabotage loop that is almost invisible. You begin to withdraw slightly because you feel disconnected. Your partner senses distance but does not understand its origin. They may pull back in response, giving you space they think you want. That space confirms your fear that you are alone, and the cycle reinforces itself. You might start questioning the relationship entirely. Maybe they aren't right for you. Maybe you chose wrong. Maybe something is missing. Sometimes something is missing, but often what is missing is not love. It's emotional transparency. It's the courage to reveal the parts of yourself that you were trained to suppress. Underneath relational loneliness is grief. Grief for the child who learned to be easy instead of expressive. Grief for the moments when your emotions were overlooked. Grief for the years spent being hyper-independent when you needed comfort. When you feel lonely in a relationship, you are not just responding to your partner's behavior, you are responding to a lifetime of emotional adaptation. You are feeling the accumulated weight of never fully resting into someone else's care. And here is the uncomfortable truth. No partner can heal a wound that you are still protecting. If you continue to edit yourself, to downplay your needs, to avoid vulnerability, the loneliness will follow you from relationship to relationship. The environment may change, but the internal pattern remains. The turning point comes when you stop equating need with weakness, when you allow yourself to say, "I don't feel connected lately," without disguising it as irritation. When you admit, "I need reassurance," without apologizing for it. When you risk being fully seen instead of perfectly composed. Secure attachment is not built on perfection, it's built on mutual visibility. Two nervous systems learning that honesty does not equal abandonment. But this requires something that feels terrifying if you grew up self-reliant. Surrender. Surrendering the role of emotional manager. Surrendering the identity of the strong one. Allowing someone else to show up for you, even if they do it imperfectly. When you stop abandoning yourself, the dynamic begins to shift. You become less focused on controlling the stability of the relationship and more focused on expressing your inner reality. You notice when you're shrinking and gently expand instead. You let your partner see your confusion, your fear, your tenderness, and in that exposure, something surprising happens. Either the relationship deepens because your authenticity invites deeper reciprocity, or you realize that the connection was never capable of meeting you at that level. Both outcomes bring clarity. Both outcomes are less lonely than silent endurance. Loneliness in a relationship is not proof that you are broken. It is often proof that a part of you has never been fully witnessed. The solution is not to try harder, love harder, give more, or shrink further. It is to become emotionally present with yourself first, to stop performing strength and start practicing honesty. Because the deepest form of intimacy is not proximity, it's recognition. And recognition begins the moment you decide that your inner world deserves to take up space. When you finally refuse to disappear in order to stay connected, you may discover that the connection you were craving was waiting for your authenticity all along.